Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. I'm your host, Kirk Rafferty, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Meagan Thompson-Mann. And this week we are not talking about soggy middles.
Still.
Sorry. We're going to be talking about lists. Not like summer reading lists, which
that would be off-brand.
That would be off-brand. Also a little wholesome.
Too wholesome.
Yeah, and I do keep thinking that we need to do some wholesome topics. I'm so much down in the muck these days. But we're going to be talking about what it means when boycott or do not read lists get circulated online. And in particular, this past week, a small book club in the north of England posted an Authors to Boycott graphic. We've got some thoughts about this, just a couple.
We do.
Maybe
yes.
like an hour. So, buckle up. This is going to be interesting, we think. So Kirk, how's your writing going?
My writing is going really well. So I think I said last time that I had gotten developmental edits back on my horror.
Yeah.
I'm letting those kind of soak for a while, and I've all of a sudden I decided to jump into another book. So I've started outlining another book, and then I got to really thinking about a book that I had started a long time ago, like 2 years ago, and it's been on my mind a lot. And so I'm actually also starting to kind of think of ways. I had set it aside because it stopped working, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. And I've been thinking about ways now to fix it, and I think I've actually kind of come up with some ways. So I think maybe I'm going to start slowly pulling that one back into. So I've got all kinds of crazy things going on. I've got the one project that I can't talk about yet, so we're not going to talk about it. But yeah, so my writing has been kind of scattered, but very busy, and I think mostly in a productive direction. So that's how mine's going.
You sound busy.
I feel busy. Yeah. And I had this lull for a while where I was just, I'm still kind of editing and playing with words and stuff like that, but I didn't feel like all of the writing time that I could be spending was being consumed. I right now feel like I have an overabundance of things on my mind writing wise. Not all of it is directly words on page, but it is, outlining, thinking a lot, doing some research actually, and just kind of building my nest, I guess.
Research, what's that? I mean, also, I hope you are saving every single scrap of these notes.
Oh yeah, I've got like 5 different video cameras surrounding me at all times. I've got this like headgear that I've built, and it's just these cameras pointing at me constantly 24/7, so that all of my entire life is documented.
Excellent.
For when that one reader out there says, you know what? You used an M dash and that looks like AI to me. So I'm going to be able to prove that I actually typed that in.
You're still going to be called.
I know.
They're still going to call you a witch,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How's your writing going?
So this is it. I had it for real this weekend. I am about 1,500 words away from being done, which I can knock out over the week. Like for real. It has been a very busy week for me, and I will explain why. Kirk.
Yes. You have some great news to share.
Yes. So last week I talked about how I'd gotten nominated for the writing contest.
Again, congratulations.
Thank you. What I wasn't talking about was that earlier in the day that we recorded, I had gone on for an interview, and I have accepted a new role at a very small law firm, up 15-minute walk away from my home. And it is a lot of the same type of law I already practice, which is commercial real estate law, litigation, but some new wrinkles too. It is a fantastic opportunity, and I am super excited to get started, but I just had to go into my work and set off a bomb in the sense that I have been working at my workplace for 15 years, and I
Yeah, so this is a big move.
it's a huge move, and it was very surprising to everyone, including myself, that I was going to do this. But sometimes when the right opportunity comes along, you just need to jump in and take it. So I did. And so that's been taking up a lot of my time, but I am like so close to being done. And then I am going to be doing another writer a solid. Laura B, friend of the show, has given me her book to beta read, and it is due next month, and we are halfway through the month of August. So chop chop, Meagan. And that's what being done with my book is going to allow me to do. She beta read my book, and she did such a great job. I am so honored that she asked me to beta read for her. I'm super
that's
excited
great.
to get going.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Laura. And thank you for the really kind comment that you left on YouTube as well on our last episode, or next to last episode. I love getting to see that people actually read these things. Normally we talk about the YouTube stuff and the Spotify stuff at the end, but our metrics are increasing. So if you are a new listener, thank you so much for joining us. We really mean that. We joke that we are award winning because we've got these fake Spotify awards that they gave us. But it does mean a lot when we can see that new people are joining us.
It does, yes.
And there's so much going on in the bookish world right now that I'm not surprised that more people are finding us, especially through YouTube, which does have the recommended podcasts or recommended videos that have column on the side. There is so much going on that the intersection of art and commerce and culture, like sort of general culture, that I guess we're popping up. So, hey, hi. We have another big topic today. We are going to talk about the authors to boycott list that was posted online, I believe on Instagram initially, by the Sleepy Readers Club. Now, let me explain what the Sleepy Readers Club is very briefly. As far as I can tell, these are three nice ladies up in the north of England who have their own reading club, and they like to read marginalized authors. They uplift those voices. They seem to have pretty generally groovy politics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a reminder to those of us who are on the left-hand side of the dial that we can also be authoritarian assholes when we want to be.
Absolutely.
So let me explain what this is. So there was a post on August 8th called Updated Authors to Boycott.
And automatically when the boycott word comes up, it already sends my spidey senses tingling, because even with problematic people, I start feeling a little squishy when we talk about boycott. But go ahead. Continue.
Oh yeah. No, of course. So boycott was circled in red. Like, okay, pay attention. So there are 57 authors on this list. There was no reason attached to any individual name. There was no categorization. There were no sources. There were no links. There was no date. There was no evidence. The caption said that the issues were related to racism, transphobia, homophobia, and Zionism, but there was no context beyond, like, do your own research.
Yeah.
Also, two names
Also
randomly,
problematic.
also problematic. We all lived through the pandemic. Two names had asterisks next to them. Who knows why? I don't know. So here are some of the names, and some of these ones you will understand immediately. Start with the big guns. Rolling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable. Neil Gaiman. Okay. Understandable. Salman Rushdie. who we're going to talk about at some greater length later on. Interesting inclusion. Stephen King.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like what? Brene Brown. I do know why Brene Brown is on this list. There are some accusations that she has lifted a lot of kind of the ethos behind her books. She does kind of self-help books, that she lifted it from other authors of color without attributing it. That is an open question that I don't want to get into because I don't know enough about it. I've seen sort of very interesting evidence, I'm putting that in heavy scare quotes, on both sides of this, so I'm not taking a position on it. Okay, Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Yeah, what the hell?
Ooh.
And I got to tell you, so Stephen King and Taylor Jenkins Reid are probably like two of my favorite authors on this list.
Yeah.
I love me some Daisy Jones. I love me some It. And
Yep.
you know, his many thousands of other books.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taylor Jenkins Reid's what?
Yeah, I believe, and I'll get to a little bit more in the moment.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I'm jumping the
no,
gun.
it's fine. I'm sort of pulling out the ones that are clearly not for the underlying reason it appears to be for most of these. Colleen Hoover, you should boycott her because apparently her books are mediocre. Fair enough. Boycott is strong.
Yeah. But...
Oh, and here's an obvious one. Jordan Peterson. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not? What the hell?
I mean, probably best avoided.
And you know, so an author like Jordan Peterson, I don't even know if boycott is the right word. Like, yeah, sure. Go ahead and read about 2 sentences that have ever come out of his mouth, and you're just not going to want to read his books. Like,
Probably
you're just
not.
not going to write. So I don't know that it's, you know, really necessary to boycott somebody like Jordan Peterson, because
He does it to
you're
himself.
just not going to want to read his garbage.
No, it's self-executing, you know?
Yeah.
Kristen Hanna is also on this list. So, you know, there are also a bunch of smaller names, or, you know, that you or we may not be familiar with. It's a long list. And we will certainly have an image of it, a link to an image of it in show notes.
Here's what strikes me about this list. Now, I know there is an underlying theme that we'll talk about through many of these authors, but so much of this seems kind of random. So much of this seems very, I just don't like their book. I don't know.
Yeah. So the people on this list are being accused of not really comparable things. So on the one hand, you have extraordinaire J.K. Rowling and alleged sexual deviant and criminal, allegedly, Neil Gaiman. And on the other hand, you have Colleen Hoover, who writes allegedly, probably, crap books.
Yeah.
So also she, you know, romanticizes toxic relationships, but
that's probably the reason that I'm not a big fan of Colleen Hoover, is I don't care for that kind of romanticizing of toxic relationships.
Yeah, I for me, it's a twofer. I don't like her writing, and I also don't like how she treats toxic relationships. But mediocre prose, currently not a human rights violation, or how much the individual reader may suffer reading Hoover's flat prose. It's genuinely not a big deal. So a lot of the authors who are on this list, and I just want to shout out to Jen Eckhart on Threads, where she goes by Ms. Shelved 027. She is a librarian. So she's been kind of digging into who all of these 57 authors are and why they might be on the list, since the Readers Club said, do your own research. Okay, so she's a librarian. She did her own research. And she's been posting kind of what she's found in fairly neutral ways. And the thread that appears to be going through many, if not most, of these authors and their works is accusations of Zionism. And that is a term that these readers appear to be using rather loosely. Some of the authors are Zionists. Some of the authors have done as little as mentioned an Israeli character in a book, or spoken about Israel at some point in the past, like long past, in a positive way, or visited Israel and supporting what is happening in Palestine right now from the Israeli point of view. Some people have taken issue with Sally Rooney for having her works translated into Hebrew when she is explicitly and very militantly anti-Zionist, and has taken a very strong stand wherever you are on this spectrum against what's happening in Palestine to the Palestinian people. So, but Sally Rooney wanting people to be able to read her books puts her on, the no-go list, which is kind of wild.
Can I say something that will probably get me put on the boycott list?
Okay.
So authors, like other biological people, need money to survive. And so probably a lot of that decision was, translation rights and selling your translation rights so that you can get money to live. That is not a political act. Obviously, there's more nuance than that. But the other thing, too, is you can be against a government and still, want their people to be happy and do things like read your book, right? So there's a lot of things going on here in the United States that I don't necessarily like. But I would still like my book in the hands of people in the United States.
Yeah.
So I don't see on the surface of it, I don't see the problem. Now, if she was going off on a Zionist rant or something like that, that would be one thing. But like you say, she's very anti-Zionist.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Anyway, I digress.
No. It's a good point. So, unbelievably, shock, people came for the Sleepy Readers Club and said, your image sucks. Book lists suck. Why are we talking about this at all? And check yourself. And this is a teachable moment. And other people tried to explain why lists.
It could have all ended right there, right?
It could have just said, you know what? Let's
pull
take it
the
down.
Post, issue an apology, move on
we
with your
see
life.
it all the time. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I will point out that these women are young women, and they're really into reading and really into their politics. Great. But they are refusing to take down their image. They, in fact, doubled down and said, you know what? We're right. You're wrong. Bye. And they said the image was shared without context. They said, we have individual receipts that we have other places. You can find them. We're not. And this was the kicker. They said, we're not telling you to boycott these authors, but the image is literally titled Authors to Boycott with a red circle around boycott.
Yeah.
Right?
Very disingenuous.
You can't do that. You can't say, okay, boycott. But when I say boycott, I don't actually mean boycott, but I do mean boycott.
Yeah, words have meaning.
Yeah, that's kind of like what books are about.
that's the whole shtick.
So a couple of authors were removed from the list. Victoria Aveyard, and I'm sure I butchered her name there, and Emily St. John Mandel, after the club got some. Yeah, I know, she was on the list. Can you believe it?
And I'm sure these authors are grateful.
So they were. The club was given some more context about various comments that these two authors made. it's great that they took it down, but it's also bad that apparently what had to happen is you put somebody on a list, then you get information that you like, and then you reconsider your hot take. Also, the author Elsie Silver's name was misspelled, and I think there's one author whose name what was on the list twice.
So a very well thought out
Yes,
process
this
here.
was very well researched. So the point of posts like this is that they are meant to go viral, right? So a lot of people will take these.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. It happened, right? The weird thing about virality is that once the virus is out into the system, you can't control the virus. It will mutate. It will do things that you don't expect it to do. And I think that these, personal opinion, these authors thought that they were doing something good, and the execution may have been ham-fisted, but ultimately what they were trying to do was good. But it's not. People are going to take lists like this as proof that there is something wrong with these authors or something wrong with their proof with their books without looking for additional evidence to back up these kind of blanket statements. And if that evidence is scattered across various sources, how many people are actually going to stop and go and hunt down all of these sources? That this is why what Ms. Shelved is doing is interesting. She's big mad. Thank you for being big mad, Jen. This is wonderful because we actually now get to see receipts and decide for ourselves whether or not we think these are authors that we personally wish to avoid. Okay, so let's get into it. And as we get into it, I just mentioned to Kirk that I think this is going to have to be a two-parter again because there is a lot to get into about the history. We're a history podcast now.
Hey, writers like a good cliffhanger, right?
Yeah,
so we're just making cliffhangers.
So we're going to get into the history a little bit of why lists are bad when it comes to books.
Starting with 1939. No, we're not going to do that.
No, it's not going to start with. We are going to talk about 1939, and I think it's going to be an episode, the second part of this one. Yeah. We've talked about the Spanish Inquisition. We've talked about, Salem. Now we're in our World War II era. Shane would love me to talk about Agincourt, so maybe someday we can work in Agincourt. But we're going to get into it right now. So let's start off with making some definitions because words mean things. We are authors. We theoretically use words in ways that we hope come out the way we mean them to come out. So criticism, I wrote all of these down. Okay, so criticism. This person said something or did something, and here is the evidence of what they did, and here is why I think this is a bad thing. Kind of opening the topic up for discussion.
Yep.
Individual refusal. I am not going to buy, read, review, promote, whatever, lift up this book or this author. This is me. I'm doing it. And you may not have any evidence, just like beyond, I don't like Colleen Hoover's books. They suck and the prose is flat.
This is Meagan saying this, by the way.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Colleen. Yeah, I'm sure she cares.
Yeah. She'll be drying her tears with her millions of
That's
dollars.
That's right. A boycott is a coordinated refusal to do something or consume something that's intended to impose pressure. Usually there's going to be some sort of defined target and purpose. So in America, there has been a boycott of Target. Speaking of Targets, Target. I used to be a frequent Target shopper. And then they reversed their long-standing policies of supporting Pride Month and LGBTQ community. And also they yanked their partnerships with various Black providers, let's say, and kind of outreach to the Black community.
Hmm.
So, and this shockingly was related to the incoming Trump administration at that time, saying, DEI is dead in America.
Yeah.
Y'all better fall in line.
Weird, that seeming connection.
Yeah, and I shared with you earlier this week that link about that story that said that stores and retailers that did not eliminate their DEI policies did just as well, if and
Yeah.
occasionally better,
Yeah.
than stores that had yanked them. So it does, it's all, look, this is not still nominally a politics show, but this is why all of what that bullshit is just racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, general assholishness, and not we're gonna help the market. So
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, I stopped shopping at Target. So a blacklist is a roster or list of people who are marked for exclusion. Frequently operates through guilt by association, and it imposes an indefinite reputational punishment. So think about in Hollywood in the 1950s, Senator Joseph McCarthy, the House Un-American Activities Commission,
Hmm.
pulling in artists, filmmakers, authors. J'accuse, you, Mr. Filmmaker or Ms. Author, or of having communist beliefs because that person said so. And then these people's careers were ruined because they had said things that the people in charge thought were not sufficiently supportive of America. So
Right.
you could also get on a blacklist just by being friends with somebody who had explicit communist or communist adjacent beliefs, or just being in a labor union.
Well, showing up to a meeting because you were curious, you had a friend, and and then, not to digress too much, but like research is kind of my jam. And in the 1950s, 1940s, 1950s, communism was seemingly, to the rest of the world anyway, seemingly to be doing okay. So the Soviet Union kind of seemed to be successful. They had a successful, their space program was going great. Just the everything coming out of the Soviet Union seemed to be doing good. And a lot of Americans were kind of curious about it, not necessarily, turning red, but they just, so, if a friend said, "Hey, I'm going to this meeting," be like, "Yeah, sure, let's see what they have to say," right? Like, that's it. That's all it was. That's all it took to get you on a blacklist.
It's amazing. And I think also, we had just come out of an era in the 1940s with the New Deal where socialism had a strain in this country and was affecting policy that had uplifted this country and put America on a route to success that we're still feeling today. So no wonder people were interested. And maybe I'll go to a meeting, and then they go to a meeting and they're like, red isn't my color.
Yeah.
So they walk away. That's enough though. And then at the top or the bottom, as you may look at it, there's bans. So authorities remove, prohibit it, or restrict access in some way that is meaningful. So it could be the government, it could be a library, it could be anyone in a position of authority who prevents access. These are not the same things, and absolutely, a boycott is not the same as a ban. Nobody is saying ban these books. No one is saying ban these authors from polite society. And what they're doing, I have to say, is like, this is not violating anybody's First Amendment, if you're in America, First Amendment rights to free speech. It's their free speech. And our criticism of their free speech is also free speech. God bless America. So, but at the same time, when they say we're not telling you to boycott anyone, we're just putting it out there. We're just giving you a list and you can make your own decisions. But when you remove all the nuance and you flatten it and you put J.K. Rowling next to, like, I don't
Colleen Hoover.
Colleen Hoover. Like, what does it mean? It's like, there's no nuance here. It's just dumb. I keep wanting to kind of rehabilitate these young women's kind of positions on it. It's like, okay, you're young. I've been young. I was dumb. I thought I knew everything. I was, full of piss and vinegar and convinced I was correct. Then I was 28 years old and grew up a little bit. But there is a lot of nuance here. This kind of private criticism is, of course, fine. It is okay. We can have these. If they had not titled this as authors to boycott and said, here are some authors that we started looking into that we think are authors that you should consider whether or not you want to consume.
I find problematic.
Fine.
But it needs to go a little further than that. Like, and this is this is the problem with lists. That's a whole. This is what the episode is about, right?
Yeah.
If you just slap a name on there, it still doesn't tell me why they're problematic.
No, it doesn't. And if you don't explain why they're problematic, you are, and this is my hot take, you're promoting civic ignorance. And right now we need so much more civic knowledge. You need to put things like this in context or provide links. We are going to provide some links.
Yeah.
Simply because I think it is important for people to make up their own minds, do the research, right? Teach the controversy.
Yes.
But we are teaching some controversy here today. We are also not teachers, so everything, please, grain of salt. But I think we're generally kind of right about this. So don't design your online hot take conclusions to be more shareable than the evidence itself, or frankly, you're just being a fucking asshole.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. And we need more. We need more than just lists to be a healthy and free society. There needs to be arguments, tolerance, curiosity, proportionality, individual judgment, and just generally not being so fucking pig-headed that you refuse to take on criticism. Sorry. Wow.
Well, and that is the, I guess to me, that's the bigger crime, if you will, is that putting the list out there was a mistake. And if you had stopped, if you had pulled it, if you had apologized, life could go on as normal. And we would probably even be talking about how cool it was that these readers realized their mistake and dealt with it in a mature manner, like so many authors and editors and agents and publishers don't do, right?
Yeah.
And so we probably would have been talking about, this is the way you do it. But, they decided to take the road more often taken, which is to just dig in deeper.
That hole, I don't know what's at the bottom of it. I mean, but it does appear to be enticing.
I guess so.
So let's talk a little bit about why these kinds of lists are bad. So we've been talking about it. They flatten distinctions when you have Colleen Hoover and Neil Gaiman next to each other.
Right.
Yep. So it says all of these sins are equivalent, right? So
in a way, you're letting Neil Gaiman off the hook.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you're saying mediocre prose is just as bad as accusations of sexual violence. This is not the way. Allegedly, but it can include stuff like you're not posting enough about a topic that is really important to me, right? And it's like I have plenty of things that I'm really passionate about that people don't post about very much. Authors that I like don't post about at all. And I don't care because I understand that the world does not revolve around me and what my likes and my preferences are, because those are shifting. And as I get more information, my attitudes might change. And then I might think, oh, I know I asked you to say X, but now I hate X. So
Right.
can you please come out against X? Oh, but not like that. I need you to do it like that. And it's what the Utes call main character syndrome. And that whatever it is that you like and you want is the most important thing, and the world should be catering to your wishes and your desires. This is
Mm-hmm.
not the way of the world. So it if there is the same penalty for everything, what's the point of making lists like this? Especially if the lists don't have evidence, right? So it also, these lists cut off the opportunity for discussion, argument, zesty argument, and which is
Mm-hmm.
another cornerstone of a free society. And instead of saying like, this author said this thing about Israel that I don't like, um, and it's wrong, but we can talk about it, and I'm curious what you have to say. And okay, I've heard it, and I still think you're full of shit. That is a discussion. But
Yeah.
when you say
Yeah.
boycott, Taylor Jenkins Reid, because she once said something that about how it was terrible that children and adults of all ages were being killed on either side of this conflict is a bad thing. That's bad because there's only one way to look at it, and I, that just shuts off all conversation.
Yeah.
So,
And I've said this before too. You know, being a writer, being an author doesn't give you superpowers. You can still be an author and a writer and kind of be clumsy with how you talk about really anything. And so, if Taylor Jenkins Reid maybe wasn't nuanced enough in her in what she said about Israel, that's not being problematic. That's just being a normal person who has normal thoughts about either normal or extraordinary things.
mm-hmm,
So it's one thing to be J.K. Rowling and actively being a horrible person on
mm-hmm,
purpose,
mm-hmm.
and being a person that maybe just hasn't researched the topic enough to really talk about something in in the nuanced way that you want.
Yeah, and
Um,
it all comes down to that. I keep thinking about it. It's like you need to perform your outrage in a way that it kind of touches all of my points, or else you are outside of the pale.
yeah, yeah,
And also, you and I talk about it, like we've talked about it many times over the years, about how having one statement in the past that in context of the past was acceptable but has gone on to become unacceptable, and everybody's clear that this is unacceptable now, but you have gone on to grow from that moment and explain why you know you're wrong. That's not enough. It is that
yeah,
there was one moment, one stupid thing that you said. You are never coming back from it. You are forever outside of polite society because you took a position 20 years ago that is now acceptable. I'm not talking about being racist here. I'm talking about have like maybe you said, you know, in the context of the information that my government is giving me about the origins of the Iraq War, I think this is an okay thing to do. And then several months later, you go, oh, wow, I was wrong. And
There is undoubtedly a Reddit post out there created by me that said something along the lines of Neil Gaiman is one of my top 5 favorite authors. I'm sure something like that exists out there. My feelings on that obviously have changed, but hey, maybe I make the boycott list because I had once said that in the
that's
past.
when you know you've arrived.
That's right.
It's when you're on that kind of list. But part of being human and part of being a curious human is learning about why your opinions are wrong and frequently testing your beliefs to see if they're still fit for purpose. This is a good thing. I do it all the time. I've changed my mind on a number of things. I do it all the time. There are some things I will never change on, but I still investigate those questions for myself. Like, is this still fit for purpose? And there are some immutables like that. I frankly, I don't need to revisit and don't. Like, racism is bad. That one, I just know that one is true. Sexism is bad. I know that one is true. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. I know those things are true. I'm not going back. But Shane and I regularly talk about the death penalty. I have always taken the position that I am completely against the death penalty. I do not think that government should be in the business of state-sanctioned murder. Shane
Agreed.
takes a different position from me, but from talking about it and listening to him, I have listened to his arguments, and Shane's beliefs have started to change from talking to me.
Awesome.
He is not
awesome.
fully where I am, but having this kind of dialogue, and it is dialogue. It's not just me saying, I know I'm right, or him saying, I know I'm right. We are talking and we are testing these propositions.
Sure.
This is good. This is two people who do not agree, who love each other and respect each other, having kind of interesting, funny, expansive conversations on a hot topic issue. It can be done. But when you're just saying, this is the way, trust me, bro, you flatten everything, you remove all the nuance, and you remove the opportunity to have these kinds of conversation.
Yes.
So we're actually going to break the discussion here simply because there is so much we want to talk about, but we also know that we need to do service to you, our listeners, and we are going to bring you some hot goss.
Let's do it.
All right. So, hey, surprise. Knock, knock. It's Pangram again.
No.
Ooh. And I realized I'd put it in the show notes, but we didn't talk about it last week. But Substack has actually been building Pangram into its platform so that it can check whether your Substack posts are AI generated or not. Now, you can turn this off, but it automatically is just saying, we trust Pangram. We have gone down the road so many times about why we think you should not trust Pangram, but guess who else is now starting to trust Pangram? Any guesses?
Well, I have the script in front of me. So
okay. Okay. Yeah.
Let me take a shot here, though.
Okay.
Literary agents?
Oh my God, you're right. So they're using Pangram, some, not all. And to be clear, I don't know which one this is, but at least one literary agent is starting to use Pangram to check queries and saying it's for everyone's protection. Okay, who's everyone? This came up in a thread posted by Jane Friedman, who is an editor and just general all around badass on the topic of writing, agents, querying, publishing. She's great. But she said this is for everyone's protection, or at least that's what people are telling her. I don't like this. As somebody who's
well
querying
said.
right now, I'm a writer. I know words, but I can't make it more simple than that.
Yeah.
I asked you earlier this week, do agents and editors no longer rely on their professional knowledge and their human judgment anymore? Because they've been generally doing a good job. But now why are they outsourcing their
brains, yes.
and their brains?
Yes.
To
They're welcoming them, and they're also not understanding the tool. In fact, I will tell you that I know who the agent is. She said it in an interview, so I'm not spilling any beans here. It is out there for the public record. The agent is Rachel Mills, and Rachel said in this interview, I'm going to quote her, "Personally, I have no idea how Pangram works or if it is accurate, but would want to ensure that my submissions are not flagged as AI written. I now assume publishers will use these programs." So that's the end of the quote. Here, so my mind is exploding with so many problems with this, and I don't know if Rachel's going to get heat or not. I don't want everybody to start brigading her or anything like that, because she admittedly doesn't know how Pangram works. But what I would just say to Rachel is, please understand how Pangram works before you start, basing your career on using this tool. We have already shown that Pangram, at best, is flawed, right? So already relying on Pangram does not tell you anything, because you can't trust it. You can't trust AI. You can't trust Pangram for this. The second thing is then she wants to make sure that her submissions are not being flagged as AI written. But going back to this, Pangram makes mistakes, AI makes mistakes. And so if I submit my manuscript to Rachel Mills as a human author, as having never touched Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, she's going to run it through Pangram, and what? I don't know. What if it comes up 11%? I'm just
what does
off
that
the
mean?
top of my head.
What does 11% even mean?
Yeah. First of all, if I really am a human and having not written anything with AI, it's 11% inaccurate, Or, well, I should say it's 100% inaccurate, because 11% is wrong. So Rachel may think, wow, this is a fantastic manuscript. Too bad it was written by AI. Rejected instantly, right? So automatically you're rejecting an author based on not what you used to reject us on, not rejecting because the query letter sucked, because the story is derivative, whatever. All of a sudden, you've now added this extra layer that overrides everything. I could have a great story. I could have a great query letter. My synopsis could be fantastic. My opening pages could be the best opening pages you've ever read. But nope, Pangram said 11%, so I'm not even going to chance it. And away you go. I think that's really, really unfortunate. And I hope that Rachel comes around to understanding how poorly this is serving her, and how poorly this is going to serve authors that she, potentially would love.
It makes me think of the studies that have been done showing how quickly people's contact with AI makes their brain kind of switch off a little bit. There's something that I don't believe is quite understood yet in this kind of research. But we are willing as humans to suspend our judgment and
Mm-hmm.
substitute the computer's judgment, saying for some reason we believe that these devices, this technology can do no wrong, and we are human. We are but flesh and bone, and we are weak. But the computer is a computer. It is above reproach. It is neutral. But it's not neutral. None of this is neutral. In the same way that, standardized tests are not neutral. There is still a human who is at the beginning of the process, for now, but who is making decisions on how to code these programs. And those prejudices, whether explicit or implicit, continue to bubble and percolate throughout these systems. You can't remove them just because it's a computer. They are neutral to the extent that they reflect the decisions that were made at the inception. Just go, okay, I'm neutral. If that's what you say, that's what you say. But then these problems compound, as you say, and they bubble onwards. And as we talked about the other week, you could have just a very small snippet in, I think they called it a window of text, but but there's so many windows in a book that problems and inaccuracies start to compound very quickly. I don't understand why these professionals want to take their jobs away from themselves, because ultimately publishers are going to go, why do I need to have an agent involved? I can just go straight. I can go straight to the author.
Sure.
The author who has very little power, especially at the beginning, and just go, you know what? Come to us. We can just do this for you.
Agents have traditionally been kind of the first, gatekeep, right?
Yeah.
But I think,
but in a positive way,
mostly positive way, right? Because what an agent does is they're the first person the first professional to really look at that manuscript and say, yeah, I think this is either publishing ready, or it could be publishing ready, or it's intriguing, or whatever. It actually saves editors work by having an agent in place, and agents, are paid for that. Now, editors can just run a manuscript through Pangram and say, oh, 11%, nope, I'm not even going to do that. Like, the agents have just abdicated, or at least some agents. I get the impression that most agents, of the overwhelmingly vast majority of agents, are rejecting this. I think there's probably very few, but that's how it starts, right? So if publishers all of a sudden realize, hey, we don't need agents, we can just run this through Pangram, as a first check, and then the next check we'll run it through an AI to see if it's publishing worthy. All of a sudden, you've killed your own job.
So as I continue to test Pangram, much like I continue to test my beliefs. I tested Pangram again this week with something that you know quite well, my query letter.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk helped me write my query letter because these are painful documents to draft. So, unlike my 100% human scores of AI generated work, I got a 40%, or it's something like 40% AI on my query letter. Yeah. And I will tell you why. And I could figure it out immediately when it highlighted for me what it thought was AI. It was the parts of the letter that everybody has in. Like this, the book will appeal to readers of X, and for people who like these kinds of narratives in this book and that book. That is AI. Dude, that is metadata.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're reading. And it didn't like that I just occasional phrasings. I'm like, I went through 10 rounds of this goddamn query letter. I know I wrote every single goddamn word. And I'm like, but a lot of it was, oh my God, my bio was all AI generated. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
like, what about it? And this is a 100% human crafted query letter. And to have it thrown in my face that it was 40% or thereabouts AI generated is disgusting. I would fail Pangram at for one of these agents who decided to do it.
And a piece I read recently, I'll try to find the piece and maybe throw it in show notes because it was so interesting and I'm completely blanking on where I read this. But the gist of it is that AI detection, if you think of an XY graph, if you've got on one side of it you've got human written prose, and on the other side you've got AI detection of that human written prose. What's happening is those two sides are starting to converge. People are, because we are so saturated with AI documents and text and websites and everything like that, people are actually starting to write a little bit more like AI. On the other hand, we're feeding that into training AIs. And so what's happening is there's a convergence coming. And we are headed very, very rapidly to a place where AI written stuff and human written stuff is going to be very similar, and you just can't tell anymore. And so tools like Pangram will just continue to become more and more inaccurate, even as it becomes more and more confident in its results. Mm-hmm. It's a very scary thing.
I will also point out something that I saw this week, and I don't have direct evidence of it, but it's vibes for me. I have seen comments on threads talking about Pangram where it feels like AstroTurf support for Pangram. Like, I've tested Pangram. It's always accurate. I've done it, and it's very similar posts or comments on threads, across threads on this topic, which makes me think that something's going on. Like there's some sort of campaign we just need people to trust us. They need to trust us that it's accurate. And most people are not curious enough or don't have enough time to figure out if what we're saying is true is true. We have a product that we believe in, that we think is great. We just got a shit ton of money, and we need to prove to our investors that we are worth that shit ton of money. So if we get people to trust us, if we become the gold standard, then we win, and I'm going to go buy a super yacht. But it's not. It's just another parlor trick, like AI is a parlor trick, because Pangram is AI. So boo.
Don't fall for it.
Yuck, 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 yuck. All bad. So we have started this conversation, and we are going to come back next week, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. There is a lot. We're going to talk about Salman Rushdie. We're going to talk about why lists generally are bad. We're going to dig in a little bit more to some of the authors on the list. After I have some time to investigate Jen Eckhart's posts a little bit more, I might even reach out to her and ask her how she's holding up. It's a valiant effort. And also one post where she talks about an author who has been subjected to significant abuse online for decisions that she made.
It's a horrible story. So
it is a terrible story. we will absolutely have a content warning and timestamps on that one, because it's pretty bad. I will point out that the abuse that that author suffered was not because of this list, but it was the conduct that it was what she did that got her onto the list in the first place. I'm being very vague, but
Yeah.
it's a very sad story, and it's a reminder that lists have human consequences because lists like these are full of humans.
Yeah.
So, bleh. So, we are Bad Lit Friends on all of the evil socials. And again, reach out to us on Blue Sky or Threads now that I'm on Threads all the time. Also, leave comments like Laura B did on YouTube or on Spotify. I do read them. I do respond to them. I might be a little late, but I do respond to all the comments. So like, subscribe, share. We love all of it. And hopefully, eventually, we will get to Soggy Middles. And hopefully next week when I'm here, I'm going to tell you that my book is done. So pray for me.
Okay.
But until next time, we will see you then.
Bye.